Exactly 1 year ago, I pulled my F750 dump truck into my shop with a plan to completely rejuvenate the way it looks. I wanted to fix up all the bad spots and then give it a fresh new paint job that was just one of a kind. I didn't expect it to take a full year, but it is finally done. And in this video, I wanted to recap my entire dump truck journey, show you the last few things that I needed to finish, and yes, reveal it to you as it looks now. If you've been waiting the entire year, then thank you so much for your patience. I know what it feels like to wait too, but the wait is over.
Dig Drive DIY.
This is the part I've been waiting for. This part is easy. This is the enjoyable part. The completion of a vision that started many, many years ago. I mean, I'm talking a boyhood dream here, because like so many young boys, I loved playing with trucks and tractors in my sandbox as a kid. In my case though, I never really grew out of it. I still wanted a dump truck as an adult, as badly as I did when I was a toddler. So when I could finally afford it, I bought the first rusty but trusty dump truck I could find. It was a 1975 F350 with an inline 6-cylinder and a Swiss cheese dump bed. I restored it in my dad's barn, and I gave it a bold paint job that challenged me as a novice body man, but it ultimately taught me a lot along the way. That truck looked good, and it got the job done. Many jobs. Even though it wasn't perfect, but one thing was for sure. I would never be without a dump truck for the rest of my life. And I wanted something newer and a little better. So about 8 years later, I found a 1995 F350 4x4 with a blown head gasket. This time I fixed it up in my garage with whatever spare time I could find, and then I found a place that would let me paint it in their paint booth. Once again, this paint job taught me something.
It's December 7th. Finally got the dump truck done or painted. Video to remind myself not to ever do this again.
Fortunately, all that work and effort was worth it, and that truck turned out awesome. It was black like my first one, but I left off the yellow two-tone and instead did up a nice set of golden sideboards. That truck was a solid workhorse for about another 8 years or so, but I was getting to the point of needing something bigger. So I found this F750 for $8,000 in 2019. It wasn't perfect, but I saw potential. I removed the salt spreader, cut off that ugly protruding front bumper, and slapped on a set of sideboards, and I had a nice solid runner. It was much better for towing larger equipment, and I knew I had grown out of my 1-ton dump truck phase. I ran it like it was for the next 5 years until it was finally time to do something about the hole in the floorboard and that missing rocker panel on the driver's side. That's when all this started a year ago. I got a good start on this truck and documented what little progress I made on my channel, but I remembered what I told myself 12 years prior and decided I wasn't going to paint it myself. I found a local paint shop and in the process discovered that the owner needed some dirt work completed and he wanted his large 6-acre yard seeded. So we struck up a barter agreement. I would install his 6-acre lawn and in exchange he would finish and paint my dump truck. It took me nearly all summer, but I got my part done. And then he got his part done. And finally, I had a freshly painted truck sitting in my shop. That was 4 months ago already. And you've seen me working on it here and there, adding new wheels and a few really cool accessories. But it still wasn't complete. I wanted to dress it up a little bit more and break up all that silver. So I scheduled an appointment with a local graphics place that was going to install a partial vinyl wrap. The only thing left standing in my way of making that appointment on time was the fact that I didn't have any working lights on the truck. And so that brings us to now. All right, so now we've turned our attention to the lights on the dump truck. Lights on top of the cab, those are working. I don't have any lights up front, no headlights, no clearance lights. 2 clearance lights back here, but I do not have any brake or tail lights here. I do not have any brake or tail lights here. So Dad's been over, we've been trying to chase wires. We found if I try to ground to the RV plug and look for power, I get no power there. One of these posts are ground. So I should be able to ground within the plug, and then since I have the clearance lights on, I got nothing inside the plug. But if I run a cable all the way up to the negative terminal of the battery, and ground it like that, now I do have power. So that tells me I still got power back here, but my ground is also transmitting a little bit of power. We're just gonna keep hunting until we find a loose wire or a bad ground or something. This can be time consuming. I haven't been filming much of anything because I've just been trying to search. Mainly I've been doing a lot of work with the flashlight and thinking that I'll discover some aha moment of something that clipped or snipped or damaged in the painting process. But I haven't found that aha moment yet. What's confusing to me is that you turn the light switch on and two running lights come on back here. I checked all the fuses in both fuse boxes. There's one underneath the steering wheel and there's one up in the engine compartment. I've traced down all the wires that are no longer in use. This thing used to have like a strobe light system, and it had a beacon and a salt spreader and some controls, and a bunch of these wires don't go anywhere anymore. And part of the wires were removed during the painting process because there was some lights up there. So that may factor into it. But the horn doesn't work. There was something else that doesn't work. The flashers don't work. I don't know. Something major. It's like once you find it, you're going to say, oh, I understand how that could be, but it's not obvious. What I'm going to do is start tracing from the one that works. I'm going to start there and try to go backwards and see if I can figure anything out. I don't know what else to do. This is getting old. I got 2 days to get this done. It's going in to try to get the vinyl stripes put on it. So in 2 days, I got to be able to drive this down the road. Well, Dad and I have been at it for a couple hours now too. Chasing our tail around and round and round, pulling wires, pulling fuses. So I have crawled up and underneath this thing 20 times. And I was tracing the wire again, feeling my hand up and down, and all of a sudden I uncovered this. And it looks like it's a broken ground. That could be what we're chasing this whole time. I hope. I'm so excited I can hardly stand it if this is it. Then I gotta put all this back together, but I'll happily put this all back together if this is the problem. Can you hear me, that grinder? All right, well, I spent an embarrassing amount of time trying to find that ground fault. And if I hadn't just been down underneath yanking on the wires, I wouldn't have discovered that that bolt had been actually rusted off in the frame. Anyway, that was my problem. It was a ground problem. We kind of knew it was, but it took 2 full days for me to discover it. And I tore everything apart in the process that I didn't need to, but that's the way it goes. Something like that is always something simple, and it's silly and it's stupid, but it is so satisfying when you discover it. And that was the case here. But that's where we're at. Lights are working. I'm fired up. It is 1:35 in the AM, and I'm going to plan to leave with this at 7:45. So I'm going to go in, get a few hours of sleep, and then we're going to take this for its first trip with the new tires, with the lights working. I'm anxious, I'm worried, but I'm excited to see this thing coming to an end. So it's coming. All right, I'm going to get some sleep, and I'll see you in the morning. Here we are. First time out in public with the new wheels, new paint. I'm going to go in and check on them, see if they want it inside or just leave it sit out here. Good morning. I have an appointment for tomorrow, but I'm dropping it off today so that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's almost 8:30 at night, and they just finished it up. Looks like the guys are still here. Oh, it's sitting outside. Oh my God, look at that. You worked late, huh?
Yep.
You guys always work this late?
We tend to quite a bit, yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for getting it done. Check this out. Holy cow. Very nice. Boy, coming together. Inkworks Yeti. Nice.
Never have to get paid for
You never buy a Yeti. All right, we have finally reached the point that I'm getting down to the last few things I need to do. This may not be the last thing, but it's going to be one of the last things I do, is try to replace this gray plastic grill with a chrome grill. And interestingly enough, several years ago when I started working on this truck, I told viewers that I had a chrome grill I was going to replace this with. And I had a viewer comment that they were leaving the channel because I chose to switch out a perfectly good gray grill for a chrome grill. Anyway, this is the grill I have. It's not perfect. It's one I found on Marketplace. If I could use this to get it mocked up and mounted, then that's what I'll do. That is going to really change this look up front. It's going to make that bumper look better too. It's got studs in here. It's got some clips, but if it's got studs, that's a good start. So I'm going to pop this trim ring off of here. All right. It has been over a year since I pulled my F750 dump truck into the shop to start what I hoped would be a restoration process, beginning with the floors and the rocker panels on the driver's side. So you've seen everything done up to this point. The only thing really I had left to do was try to put the chrome grille on the front of this truck. Now this truck is a 2000, so I had the older style gray matte finished grille. There was a chrome version available, but I was never a big fan. So I found a used chrome grille from, say, a 2005 F750, but it didn't exactly fit on the old hood. So it took me a couple days to try to figure out how to get it modified. I had to drill some holes in the hood. I had to make some modifications to the fasteners that I used. And then finally, I had to cut the bottom of the center portion of the grille out in order to allow enough clearance for the hood to tip up. And since my pump is mounted directly on the crankshaft in the front of the engine and it obstructs the hood from opening properly, I had to fasten and attach that bottom portion of the grille to the actual frame of the framework of the radiator mount itself. So that took a little while. The next thing I wanted to do before I rolled this thing out was attach the fender flares. The fender flares are there because the tires are a little bit wider and stick past the fenders. So I'm not a super huge fan of these flares. They attach, you have to drill holes in the fender and put screws in there to attach them, but it's pretty much the only thing I could find. They turned out okay. Fortunately, they're black, and since the fenders are black now, you don't hardly even see them. I think it really adds to the look, and it doesn't look like the tires are now sticking out past the fenders. So I'm standing here looking at the truck right behind the camera, and I can't get the smile on my face. I came out here last night at 10 o'clock and I decided to wash it. So I washed it because I knew they were talking about a sunny day today, and I have not had this outside since I got it home and got it all done. I got the sideboards put in on the side, got those all painted and done, and now they're in there, and that changed the look tremendously too. So the only thing left, I guess, is to show it to you folks. And I want to say this before you see it. When I got the graphics done from Inkworks, and they did a great job too, by the way. When I got the graphics done, I was like overwhelmed because I had gotten used to looking at it in the silver, all silver. And I liked it in silver. It looked good. I had grown accustomed to it. But then when I saw the wrap job and some of the graphics we had put on there, I thought, oh boy, maybe I made a mistake and it's too much. But I gotta tell you, it's been sitting in my shop for a month now since I got it home, and I've grown to love it. I look at the pictures of it when it was just silver and it looks naked. So please understand that I love the looks of it. It'll grow on you. Here's the idea behind my color scheme. I wanted something that was a tribute to my 79 Bronco. So I put it in silver and black. I wanted something that paid tribute to the first dump trucks that I had that were black and yellow. I wanted something that was unique and one of a kind that I've never seen before. And I must say, I've seen silver trucks, I've seen black trucks, I've seen even black and silver trucks, but I haven't seen one with this exact setup. So without further ado, let's get this out of the shop. So I'm gonna do something that I ever rarely do. And that is, I'm just gonna talk. I'm gonna walk around this thing and I'm gonna tell you about what all was done and just kind of summarize it as best I can for anyone that's just happened to be catching this video as their first one, or they didn't catch every video along the way. So first of all, this is a 2000 F750. It's got a Caterpillar engine in it and an Allison automatic transmission. It was originally a municipal truck. It was in a city. I can't remember the name of the city up in Michigan, but all it did was spread salt. And that kept the miles way down because it has 75,000 miles on it. But it did cause some rust and corrosion issues on the step and the floor, inside the cab, and then some on the bed. That's all been fixed. That was the first thing we did, was fix the floor and the rocker inside the cab. I started that here at home. And then the guys over at Custom Trucks and More finished up the job. But there's the new rocker. Let me pull this out. This is exactly how the floor rotted out, because this is residual salt from my feet from getting in from the first time I drove it home. And that's where it rusted out, because it was a salt truck and the guy would get in there, drag his feet across the rocker and the floor, and that's what caused it to rust out. But that's all patched up and it looks good. It's really nicely done up underneath, and that turned out great. That was the first thing we did. And then we patched a whole bunch of holes. I shouldn't say we, they patched. There was a hole right here on the side of the bed where it had a tarp on it that I had taken off. It had a couple brackets that were up there on the bed that have been cut off and removed that make it better. And they added that handle up there, and Custom Trucks added this step right here as well. That's the old step from what was my battery box. So I put a battery box from a Peterbilt on this truck that was given to me by a friend, Brian Foz, and Custom Truck polished it all up. That's the hydraulic tank. That remains the same. One thing that Custom Truck did is they put a bed liner material on all these surfaces that could potentially be hit by stones. So this here, I don't know if you can see that texture. It has like a ribbed or a rugged texture. That's on purpose, and that's to try to make it stronger to hold up to the stone chips. And then obviously it has a vinyl wrap over the top, and I'll show you that. But these guys did such a good job with the paint. You can see here in the silver where they masked it off. They painted this bed liner material on all these surfaces. And so all that's got a little bit extra layer of protection. And I'm telling you what, these guys did a fantastic job on the paint. When I was first there at Custom Truck, I really didn't take it all in because I was just so overwhelmed by the change in color that I didn't look at it closely. And after looking at it closely, I realized how much effort they put into doing the frame. The underside of the bed looks fantastic, and they have paint everywhere. I mean, they coated everything as best they could. So you take a 25-year-old truck, it doesn't make sense to go overboard, but they did a great job. You know, they did just the right amount. But look underneath here. All that has been painted, and it all looks really good. This truck, even though it was a salt truck, believe it or not, the frame and everything was in good shape. It had been sandblasted before I got it. And so it's got some rust pitting, but for the most part, it's got a little bit of rust jacking in between the frame rails right here. But it's 25 years old. For what I do, hauling firewood, moderate loads, it's terrific. Check out underneath here. Iconic silver is the Ford color that they painted it. I liked it because it wasn't too light, wasn't too dark. It was just right. It got painted silver. I brought it back home and I put all new tires and new rims on the rear outsides. And those are some rims that I got with the Sterling dump truck that I purchased. So I put some floaters on the front in order to make the 385, 65, 22.5s fit. I had to make a little bit of a modification to the inside of the fender right here, but I've got clearance now when I turn, and I think the big tires look good on there. I mounted up these rear fenders that came from Mighty Products, and I think I'm really gonna like these. They're plastic fenders that slide on and off. They turned out pretty good. I also got this gigantic toolbox from them. I wanted something big enough to haul all my chainsaws in, and I don't have anything in there right now, but you know, if this was in full work mode 100% of the time, I don't know if that stainless cover is the right choice, but I thought it looked cool. Then I sent it over to Inkworks in New Haven, Indiana. And Inkworks they helped me with the design. I kind of told them what I was after, that I wanted silver and black. I wanted some yellow accents, and I worked with their designer and they sent me several options, and this is what we came up with. It's just something totally 100% unique that I didn't see on any other truck. We just kind of dreamt up, and it's black, but then it's also got this charcoal right here. Charcoal kind of fades into the silver paint. And vinyl wraps are cool. You can put them on there and it really changes the look, but if there's any imperfections in the paint, then you can see them through there. And there's some of those, but you know, you gotta keep reminding yourself that this is a dump truck that's gonna work, and I did not wet sand the whole thing to make it perfectly smooth, and we got a few dirt specks in it. But I really like the black and yellow logo, so I had them do that on the side, this on the back with another black stripe here, and then of course you saw the one on the front of the bed right behind the cab as the bed goes up. I kind of like that look. So the graphics got all done, and the only thing left to do really was the grill and the fender flares. The fender flares are just rubber fender flares that I bought from Jegs, and I had to screw them on there with little screws, 1/4-inch screws. I'm not a crazy huge fan of these, but you know, it's wide enough to capture tires. That looks pretty good. And then the last thing was the grill. This is a grill from a newer style F7 or F650. This one's got some imperfections. I got it used for $75 off of Facebook Marketplace, and I bought it just because I thought it was cheap enough that I could try making it fit on there, and I had to do some heavy modifications, but I got it on there. I think it looks good. I'm in the market for a new grill. If I could find one that doesn't have any imperfections and like this dent right here, then I would modify a new one to be the same and then mount it up and eliminate that. But for the most part, it looks good from a distance. There you have it. 6 or 7 minutes of me rambling on about what all's been done to this truck. And I'm sure I forgot something, like those sideboards, for example. But you know what? This is a 25-year-old truck. Was it worth putting this much money and effort into? I don't know. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's mine. It's what I've got, and it's unique. I'm in a unique position doing this for YouTube where I'm putting this truck on camera and using it for videos. And so some of the things I've done may not make sense on an everyday, going to use it for work business, but this is what I've always wanted. So let me know down in the comments what you think of it, what you would have done differently. You don't have to tell me if you don't like it though, if you don't mind. But anyway, I just want to thank you. Thank you for helping to make this boyhood dream stuff come true. Thanks so much for clicking on this video. I hope that you liked it. And if I'm lucky, I'll see you in the next one. Because you know who's up next. Louie's got to get a matching set of clothes here before too long. All right, take care. Hit the drone. I hit the drone, but I picked it up and I'm flying again. It's fine. I'm just on my road. Train professionals on a closed course. Do not attempt.